You guys wanted to know yesterday why I'm maybe a little bit skeptical of the FBI now. This story is actually not even that new. It's just become a bit more unearthed because of recent events. So this title here, and it is based on a lawsuit as well. A political purge at the FBI. Lawsuit details stunning loyalty test that led to firings at the FBI. Remember Trump's whole thing? Like learning a little bit more about how the US government and all the institutions work and knowing what to look for in an appointee if you can make them, because the presidents can make a lot, the executive can make a shitload of appointments, right? So obviously their choices are based on certain criteria.
And a day when the government agency most completely in the news is the FBI, we want to bring you this important story. 3 longtime, decorated, highly respected former FBI employees have filed a lawsuit against the FBI and Justice Department and their current leaders, including FBI Director Kash Patel. That lawsuit alleges that Patel knowingly broke the law when he fired senior FBI executives at the behest of the Trump White House. The 69-page complaint says that the plaintiffs were the target of, quote, politically motivated retribution and are seeking to, quote, vindicate their constitutional and legal rights. One of the plaintiffs is Brian Driscoll. He is a career FBI employee. Donald Trump appointed him to the role of acting FBI director at the start of his second term, while Kash Patel was awaiting Senate confirmation. Driscoll was fired by Donald Trump on August 7th, reportedly for refusing to fire agents who'd been assigned to the investigations into the January 6th attack on the United States Capitol. The plaintiffs are described in the lawsuit like this, quote, Brian J. Driscoll Jr., Stephen J. Jensen, and Spencer L. Evans served this country with distinction and courage as special agents and senior officials at the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Over the course of their remarkable careers, they prevented terrorist attacks. They rescued American hostages. They saved children from predators, and they disabled violent street gangs. That is who they are. According to the lawsuit, the incoming FBI director, Kash Patel, quote,
the funniest thing about Driscoll being appointed and then fired is that he wasn't meant to be appointed. It was a mistake. He was looking for another post, but the admin didn't want to backtrack. Okay. And the thing is that this has become a thing now because he's suing. So it's in court documents, but this is just one agency. And it's very clear that we know out in the open that Trump has been much more selective with his public choices for different departments in the executive because it's all about loyalty. It's all about loyalists. That's why he's not going with the same VP pick again, because Pence was not a good loyalist. He wasn't a good boy. He was a bad boy. That's why we don't have any more Bill Barrs or Rusty Bowers or people like that kicking around.
Stated that his own job depended on the removal of the agents who worked on the cases against the president, regardless of whether the agents chose to work on those cases or not. The suit argues that Kash Patel's actions are a violation of the federal law and of the United States Constitution, saying this, quote, Patel not only acted unlawfully, but deliberately chose to prioritize politicizing the FBI over protecting the American people. His decision to do so degraded the country's national security by firing 3 of the FBI's most experienced operational leaders, each of them experts in preventing terrorist attacks and reducing violent crimes. Joining our coverage, MSNBC senior investigative correspondent Kara Lenig. Kara Lenig, that's the first time I've had the pleasure of introducing you that way. Let me first say welcome and thank you for saying yes. And let me ask you about this really serious reporting you have on what is the most serious kind of story we cover around here, and that is a lawsuit alleging a political purge atop the FBI.
Well, Nicole, first off, thank you for the warm welcome, which I've received so many places. And thank you for the energy and emphasis you put on this subject and have, whether it's when I was a Washington Post reporter or now that I'm a member of your team. This is, to me, a pretty stunning, striking legal complaint. 69 pages, as you mentioned. But it is the first time there are inside accounts from the top layers of FBI headquarters, these three extremely senior career agents, one of them the former acting director, who give voice in their legal complaint to private conversations that they had with Kash Patel, Deputy Director Dan Bongino, and the efforts that they made to sort of stand in the way of a mass purge of FBI agents. And the payback that they received for that was for they themselves to be fired later. The striking thing, Nicole, that comes from this account is several episodes in which Kash Patel and Dan Bongino are described as kind of junior amateurs who don't really know how the FBI works, but are under and admit knowingly that they are under pressure from the White House and from Trump's MAGA supporters online to fire specific agents. In one instance, Acting Director Brian Driscoll refuses to turn over the names of rosters of January 6 investigators because he knows that they are being considered for mass firing without justification. Kash Patel would later testify before the Senate in sworn testimony that he would never, ever use politics as a justification for firing anyone, and he would never mistreat or abuse any FBI agents. But in fact, he then, in private conversations, according to the legal complaint, then admits that he has to fire these individuals who investigated Donald Trump because, quote unquote, they tried to put him in prison and he has not forgotten.
Carol, let me play some of what you just described because it's part of the lawsuit. This is where
they're gonna show us what was part of the hiring. The hiring criteria. Oh God, it's fucking mental. You have no. You expect the president to seek out loyalists, but I would have thought you could do that in the sense that you can just look at people's backgrounds, or you can look at what people have done on social media and all that, and just kind of like make your decision. Make it just say, oh yeah, I just had a preference for this person. Better interviewer. But it's so different from that.
The agents who filed the suit are making the point you just made, that either he's lying, that he's lying under oath when he says this. Watch.
You've committed that the FBI will not be politicized. So here's your first test. Will you commit that you will not tolerate the firing of the FBI agents who worked with the special counsel's office on these investigations?
Senator, I appreciate the time to visit with you.
It is a yes or no answer, and it is your first test.
Senator,
Let's go.
Every FBI employee will be held to the absolute same standard, and no one will be terminated for case assignments.
And I'm not.
So one of the earliest claims in the lawsuit is that was a lie. And one of the things that is in here is...
Yeah, because the whole thing, it's called this is what it's called the Hatch Act, since 1939, limits certain political activities of federal employees, as well as some state, DC, and local government employees who work in connection with federally funded programs. The law's purposes are to ensure that federal programs are administered in a nonpartisan fashion, to protect federal employees from political coercion in the workplace, and to ensure that federal employees are advanced based on merit and not based on political affiliation. So it's very clear, right? If you are a federal employee and you are in charge of a federal aid, like the FBI, okay, federally funded, and you are hiring people, you can't do shit based on political affiliation. You can't be like, excuse me, are you a Bideneer? You can't do that.
We've heard a lot about loyalty tests. We've heard about threats of polygraphs, but I want to read, because I think this is the first time we've actually had the entire text of the loyalty test. I want to read this from your reporting and from the lawsuit. These were the questions asked of Acting Director Brian Driscoll. 1, how would you define the most significant threats to the United States? Answers: cyber, terrorist, counterintelligence.
Probably fine, isn't it? Because that is very difficult to disconnect from politics, but you probably do want to have a good grasp of what security issues the United States is dealing with at the present moment. You probably need to, because some will be objectively seen as bigger threats than others. Yeah, there we go. That's a good question. All right.
Threats posed by China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, ISIS, Syria, and all their affiliates, porous borders, fentanyl, transnational gangs, cartels.
Okay.
Question 2, what are your thoughts on the structure of the FBI? Response 2, in order to constantly improve...
Okay, that's not a bad question. It's good to know. Because obviously you want people who can see the dents and you can see the flaws in the machine and maybe want to come in to make it better.
The organization needs to evolve, and the FBI is no exception.
Can't be stuck
Effective
in the mud.
evolution with an improved or enhanced end state must be done with a measured and strategic approach. The FBI can be more efficient, nimble, and field-focused with a deep understanding of the nuanced complexities of each area of responsibility for each field office. Question 3, who did you vote for? Response 3.
Oh, shit. Okay, well. Oh, no. Wait, what's it called? The Hatch Act. Oh, no. My Hatch Act alarm bells are ringing. Hatches everywhere. Excuse me. What? What do we think, guys? Think that's a violation of the Hatch Act, or is it not? Give me a yes or a no.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so too, yeah. Right, open and shut.
Driscoll refused to answer this question and stated that it was an inappropriate question with Hatch Act implications. Question 4. Do you agree that the FBI agents who stormed Mar-A-Lago, to include the rank and file, should be held accountable? Response 4. No.
I think it's what you call a loaded question. Stormed. I forget. Was Trump even there when they went in? This was reported at the times these tests were given. Yeah, I know, but this is the first time that, again, because there was an MSNBC video about this 4 months ago, but it only had like 50K views. This one obviously is a bit more because the people are paying attention to Kash Patel and the FBI, but I don't think this full questionnaire was published until recently. What do we think about question 4, guys? What do we think? Are we thinking violation of the Hatch Act? Yay or nay?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so too, yeah. Damn.
FBI personnel were doing their job in furtherance of court orders, legal warrants, and a properly predicated investigation.
Sigma.
Question 5. What are your thoughts on diversity, equity, and inclusion? Response 5. Driscoll mentions that members of his own family were first-generation citizens and that he strongly believes in diversity and a diverse workforce that represents the people the FBI serves. He noted that he does not believe in promoting people for the sole reason of diversity and did not support diluting standards for the sake of diversity alone. Question 6. When did you start supporting President Trump? Response 6.
What the when did you start? Bro, he's an actual, fuck me, man. That's a lot of high levels of fascism going on there. But aren't they supposed to be nonpartisan? Yeah. Yeah, they are. Now, would you say this is a very partisan question?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it is, isn't it? Have you ever voted Democrat in the last 5? Oh, God. I don't know. Maybe it's not partisan. Is it? Is it partisan?
Yes.
Yeah, it is. Oh, no.
Driscoll refuses to answer this question. Question 7. Have you voted for a Democrat in the last 5 elections? Response 7. Driscoll refused to answer this question. After the final question, the loyalty test interview ends. I don't know that I've, I don't know, 10 years of covering the Trump story, I don't know that that's ever been revealed as the actual ambition of a loyalty test atop the FBI. It's stunning to read.
I agree.
Do you see why? Do you see why now I'm listening to Kash Patel being like, well, I'm not really ruling out the idea that there was a trans cabal in the Discord channel and that that they radicalized him and we need to keep the doors open. And also here are some Discord logs, but only a very drip-fed piecemeal selection of them. We're keeping it open. We're not going to say... But let's remember, trans partner, trans. I'm like, now I'm just like, what the fuck, man? What am I supposed to do with these people?
And it was surprising to learn that Driscoll, the acting director, was asked for his voting history because the whole point, Nicole, as you know, and as now many of your viewers and our viewers know, the whole structure of the FBI and the directorship, a director is supposed to serve for 10 years. It was structured precisely to keep this premier law enforcement agency and its sort of amazing powers apolitical, independent, of the White House, independent of the president. A director was supposed to be in this job for 10 years and not be chosen based on who the president was in every single 4-year change of administration. But as you know, Donald Trump vowed that he was going to fire Chris Wray, then FBI director, as soon as he got in office. And Chris Wray, rather than wait for Donald Trump to fire him, decided to leave office and retire and resign about a day before the inauguration. But the result was that the acting director had to face these questions. Are you going to be loyal to Donald Trump? And also, it's not insignificant that he was asked whether or not people who stormed Mar-A-Lago, emphasis on stormed, should be held accountable. This was a search that was approved by a federal judge, had factual predicate, and ultimately found reams of classified documents that should have been carefully under lock and key of the U.S. government. They were government property.
He did jack a lot of federal documents. He kept them in a fucking bathroom. And there were like foreign officials coming through Mar-a-Lago at the time. That's not good, is it? Can't do that. The fuck?
And they should not have been in the home residence of a former president. So there was nothing inappropriate about this search. There can be people who dispute or debate whether or not it was the best way to look for these records, but there was nothing inappropriate about it legally.
I remember reading the court document.
I want to bring in Democratic member of the committee that you...
With all the pictures of just this disgusting stash of fucking boxes of documents in the bathroom and shit. In a little ballroom. What an insane state of affairs. So now, I guess, you know when conspiracy theorists do that thing where they're like, well, listen, I don't believe 9/11, but you can understand why people do, right? And it's like, but okay, but then you find out that they actually do. And it's like, listen, I'm going to do that, okay? I'm not going to do conspiracy theories about the Discord logs or the text messages of this guy, but I can understand why people really are. What am I going to do? Fuck them. God. There was nuclear stuff in those boxes. There was uranium in those boxes. There was a very small nuclear weapon in one of those boxes. I'm joking. Stop. Just a bit of illegal wars in Venezuela.
So I was talking to I said Secretary of Defense, but our new Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. And I was talking to Secretary Hegseth, and you know what he said? He said, you know what, Mr. Vice President? We don't see any of these drug boats coming into our country. They've completely stopped. And I said, I know why. I would stop too. Hell, I wouldn't go fishing right now in that area of the world. But that is what...
It's really funny. It's really funny. It's funny because it's like drug shit, but they're not going to impound the ship. They're going to blow it up. It's a different country. It's good. You get it. You have to be there. You have to be there. Ship sinking.
Military that is dedicated to its purpose and a commander-in-chief that is dedicated to the national good can do. If we just have our actual government fighting for the interests of Americans and nobody else, we can make this country safer, we can protect your jobs, we can make sure you've got the best wages anywhere in the world, and we can stop this terrible poison from coming into our country. We just needed a president who was willing to fight for you, and now we've got one.
No new wars. Let's change. Let me introduce my new Secretary of War. This was clipped yesterday. What? Oh God, this fucking cycle. This is going to be like the PewDiePie moment, isn't it?
I hate seeing my face on this. I hate it so much, you guys. I feel like violated. That's what it feels like. Especially because I'm pushing back against Destiny in this clip. Like I'm totally disavowing Destiny's tactics. I want to vomit. I hate seeing...
Poor guy. Fucked.